And welcome to Easy 3 Sport Production. I'm your host, Suttles. And today we will be going over the off-season plan for the New York Giants. They have a host of things to do. What is Joe Schoen going to actually do? What is Schoen and Daboll going to come up with? Who's going to be the defensive coordinator? Is Daniel Jones going to be our sole quarterback going into next season? Are we going to get any weapons? What are we going to do with the offensive line? This is the strategy that Joe Schoen should go with, and we'll see. If you like it, let me know in the comment section. So let's get started. Mr. Joe Schoen, the GM that we actually do trust in the Giants community. He's done a pretty good job. The draft picks, he's been hitting on a few lower rounders. His biggest one that he didn't hit on was Evan Neal, and we'll get to it a little bit later. Brian Daboll had a little beef with Wink Martindale. Wink Martindale and his staff is out the door. They're still looking for a defensive coordinator, so we're going to see exactly where that's going to take us. So we really don't know what defense that we're going to be playing, but I want to go ahead and let's start with the offensive line. Now, this year's offensive line was terrible. They was bad. There's no doubt about it. They gave up the most sacks this season, bar none. All three of our quarterbacks ended up getting hurt and or just getting meleeed throughout the entirety of the season. But from my standpoint, and this is me, I don't believe our offensive line is as bad as we actually think. See, the way that the offensive line has to get better, they have to get the reps in together. They have to get the camaraderie together. The offensive line works as one unit, so they need 5 guys to work all together as one. They all need to be on a string with each other. They need to know what each other's going to do. When you start to flip players in and out, when you start to switch players on each side, they don't get the real reps with the person that is next to them. So now, we all know that the biggest weakness on this offensive line is our right tackle, Evan Neal. Now, I hate to be the one to say that I told you so, but for all those Giants fans that thought that he was going to be the next Andrew Thomas, I told you so. When he came out of college, which people really don't understand, is that he played left tackle, right guard, and right tackle in his 3 years at Alabama. So he never sat there and actually had a specific position where he can master before he gets into the NFL. Every offensive lineman is not interchangeable. If he worked on the left side with college, he can't just go and work to the right side without any type of learning curve. If he used to be a center, you can't ask him to go out there to the right tackle. Like, things like that you just cannot do. And with Evan Neal, when he came out, I said I didn't like his balance. And I said that he was going to have problems with speed rushers. He didn't have the balance and he didn't have the technique. He was just a big Mekhi Becton with less technique, and it's proven to be right. Now, he has worked hard. He has gotten a little bit better. The issue is that he was the number 7 overall pick, and everyone's thinking that he should be at a certain level. But if you've seen him and you've seen his actual scouting report and you've seen his actual game, you knew that it was going to take 3 to 4 years. So for me, I'm not ready to get rid of him because I knew that this was going to be a 3 to 4 year process for having him at right tackle, especially because he didn't master that at the college level. Now, when it pertains to the draft, if somebody, was saying, oh, you want to go ahead and get an offensive lineman, do not waste another first rounder on an offensive lineman. Because when you look at our offensive line, we have 3 first rounders and a second rounder on there. So it's not a lack of talent. It's a lack of reps together. Or it was the coach, because the offensive line coach did get fired. So we're going to see what's going to happen moving forward. But adding another piece to this which you're going to have to, but I'm just saying you don't have to spend a number 6 pick on this offensive line because you have the talent. It's more so of the technique. And I do believe that Evan Neal is going to be better, but don't expect him to be a Pro Bowler or All-Pro or anything of that nature. Just expect him to be a serviceable right tackle in this league because that's what he is going to be. So now let's move on to the weaponry on the outside, the wide receivers. We came into last season thinking that our wide receivers was actually very good. And in fact, from the first game, it was shown that we are nowhere near where we thought that we actually were. Jalen Hyatt definitely has potential. He can definitely be a number 2 receiver. Wan'Dale Robinson does know how to get open with his route running skills. And he's very versatile. So those are pieces to go with. Darius Slayton, he's been the leading receiver on our squad for the last 4 years. That's a problem. He's a 6th round draft pick. He should not be the leader of our team in receiving every single year, but yet it happens. And he's not any type of guy that people are going to game plan around. So they need to upgrade and need to get a number 1 wide receiver. We tried it before on the free agent market with Kenny Golladay. It didn't work out. Darren Waller, we thought that he'll be a number 1. He's still very injury prone and he's not what he was. So that's a flop. Sterling Shepard got injured. He's going to be retiring. So we need a number 1 receiver, a legit guy, so that either Daniel Jones or Danny DeVito or Tommy DeVito or whoever we may draft will actually have the opportunity to get the ball down the field to one of these main guys. But the wide receiver, I believe, is the most important piece to this puzzle, and we're gonna talk about the draft a little bit later, but I do believe that is the most important piece for this entire team. So now we're gonna skip the quarterback right now, and we're gonna go ahead to Saquon Barkley in the running game. And honestly, this strategy for the running back position is very simple. You let him walk. Saquon Barkley, he has been a pillar for this New York Giants squad. He was a number 2 overall pick, very high drafted as a running back, and you've seen that he was definitely gifted. He is a top 5 running back when healthy, but this is not a team that can afford that kind of luxury. And you have to rip the Band-Aid off because it got pretty ugly last year. You might as well just let him walk, because I'm pretty sure you didn't, throughout the season, you didn't get anything over a 2nd rounder for him. That's why you didn't pull the trigger and trade him. So you go ahead, you let him walk, you get a compensatory 3rd round pick. That's another draft pick that you could use either in a trade up, or you actually use the pick and draft somebody. And Joe Schoen's been hitting on these later round picks, like these day 2, day 3 guys. So it wouldn't surprise me. Go ahead, let Saquon walk, and you wipe your hands with him. If he goes to a different team, he ends up getting a ring. That's great. He had embodied the New York Giants culture ever since he's been here. Can't really say a bad word about him outside of the negotiations of last year, but it's time to let him go. It's time to let him go. Now we're going to switch over to the defense. The defense is a big question mark because Wink Martindale did leave, and I know a lot of people loved Wink and his aggressive blitzing style, but we weren't really ranked high with Wink Martindale at the helm. I mean, we were still ranked in the mid to low 20s in almost every statistical category, and for me in particular, I really felt that he was misusing Kayvon Thibodeau. A lot of people are saying that Kayvon Thibodeau is not that impact player. They're saying like, oh, he's not the Micah Parsons, he's not T.J. Watt, he's not this, he's not that. we do understand that he didn't get through his rookie year. Like, he was injured for majority portion of his rookie season, and coming into this season was still a part of his rookie season. And at the end of this season, he ends up having 11.5 sacks and a bunch of pressures, and he was holding the same statistics that Aiden Hutchinson was holding, in pressures and everything. But those stats really don't mean anything because you're looking at the impact player and you're saying that he's not affecting it and taking over the game. Well, you got to look around the league. It's only a handful of those guys. It's not like it's not like it's a bunch of people that can just wreck the game as a defensive player. We're looking at a TJ Watt, who's a defensive player of the year. We're looking at a Myles Garrett, who he does that, and he's a defensive player of the year candidate. Now, as for people comparing it to Micah Parsons to me is a flash player the same way that Kayvon is. You look at Micah, his impact is extraordinary from game to game in some instances. But when he's gone, he's a ghost. He is Casper the Friendly Ghost. And that is no ifs, ands, or buts. You can even look at the Packers game. The Packers game, they needed him the most because he was that impact player. Didn't happen. What happened when he went up against Lane Johnson in those 2 Eagle games? 1 tackle. What happened when he goes up against the 49ers? 0 tackles. What happened when he goes up against the Packers? Not impactful. Micah makes the plays. When he makes the plays, he makes them big and they're very impactful. But then there are multiple games where he'll go and he'll only have like 1 tackle, 2 tackles, and he'll do nothing. That's kind of what Kayvon Thibodeau is. And for the love of God, I hope that the defensive coordinator that they sign, he either plays a 4-3 or 4-2-5, because Kayvon Thibodeau was playing out of position. He is not a 3-4 outside linebacker. He is a 4-3 DN. He's a hand in the dirt going to explode and get to the quarterback. That's what he is. Now, I'm talking about Kayvon so much because that is our young star coming up. Dexter Lawrence, we already know what he does. You line him up over the center, he's going to bull rush. He's going to do his thing. On the outside, Deontae Banks, we got one. I'm just saying we got to shut down corner. When they was talking about Sauce Gardner last year for the Jets, we got one over here with the Giants with Deontae Banks. He has the potential to be an all-pro cornerback and maybe an all-pro cornerback next season. Now, shoring up that secondary cornerback is definitely going to need to be a priority. And then moving on to the safety position, we don't know what we're going to do with Xavier McKinney. If it was me, I would actually pay him because he is very intricate to that defense. And you can still have Belton and you can still have Pinnock back there and still get that production because those safeties are pretty damn good. And then going to the linebacker core, Bobby O, he had a Pro Bowl season. He was just phenomenal, and going into the second year with this team, oh yeah, he's gonna be phenomenal. And Micah McFadden really was a surprise, and he stepped out and he became a breakout player and actually. So now let's move on to the quarterback position. The quarterback position is a very difficult position for the New York Giants right now. So, because Daniel Jones will be coming back. We don't know if he's going to be starting the season, but we do know that he is going to be on this team and he's going to be the starting quarterback, especially because he's going to count for $47 million next year. Tommy DeVito, I believe that he will be on this team. You got him on a low budget contract. He can be, and he's shown that he can be a backup for the New York Giants. Now, this is where it gets pretty tricky for the New York Giants. Daniel Jones has had two neck injuries, and a torn ACL. Moving forward with him, and this is the last year of the contract that everybody was talking about was a 4-year, $160 million deal. No, it was actually a 2-year, $82 million deal. So after this season, the Giants can get rid of him depending on how he plays. Now, I believe that he's already out the door because I don't see any way that he plays so fantastic and lights the league up so much that the Giants are going to keep him on that contract and just let it be. That's not going to happen. So now the pressing issue is, do you address the quarterback position now in a quarterback class that they were saying is the deepest and maybe be the best since Josh Allen, Baker Mayfield, Lamar Jackson, and since all those guys came out? Or do you stay intact, go the free agent route, and wait until next year? Now, by popular belief, we have the number 6 pick. The fans are thinking, hey, we need to go out here and we need to go get one of these quarterbacks. And I've done the scouting report and the player profile on these quarterbacks. If you haven't checked it out, go ahead and check it out. Caleb Williams and Drake May is already up there. I'll be doing Michael Penix, J.J. McCartney, Bo Nix, and Jaden Daniels. They're all coming soon, but those two are already up. If you haven't seen it, go ahead and go check them out. But the quarterbacks that are coming out, they are good. Don't get me wrong, they are good. But to fit the Giants scheme and to fit what the Giants want to do, I believe it's only 2. It's really only 2 quarterbacks that really fit what the Giants need to do, and for the personnel that's around. And it is Caleb Williams, who Joe Schoen has flown out multiple times to go see. I believe that is his guy. And the other guy is Michael Penix Jr. Now, the issue is that we draft number 6. Now, Caleb Williams is going to go number 1. If he doesn't go number 1, he's not dropping out of the top 3 at all. So, if Shane mortgages the future to move on up to go get Caleb Williams, I have no problem with that. The issue with that is that now you're putting yourself in a position where Caleb Williams is going to have to play regardless of Daniel Jones because people are going to want to see him. You don't want that kind of pressure because that's kind of how Daniel Jones got into the starting role, because Pat Shermer was coaching for his job and he went 4 games with Eli and then put Daniel Jones in. Daniel Jones should have sat at least 12 games. And for these day and ages, they're always talking about, oh man, you want to see the guy get out there and get experience. But the guys that have been the most successful are the guys that actually sat behind the quarterback and waited. I mean, outside of any injury or anything that has come about to put them into the game, the guys that have sat behind the quarterback and learned, they have benefited the most. You can always say this. You can always say that, hey, we put the kid out there too soon and he got ruined. I've never heard anybody say, oh, we put the kid out there too late. Because patience is always going to go well with a quarterback in the league. So, for Caleb Williams, if you want to go ahead and trade up, go ahead and get him, yes. Now, the issue is Michael Penix Jr. Very good quarterback. He's a lefty. Focus on the lefty part because now you would have Evan Neal protecting his backside. But he fits the build on what the Giants need. The Giants need a big arm quarterback who's going to be very accurate and who can pick up the blitz radar and is mobile enough to get away and still look downfield. Michael Penix goes downfield. He'll be able to use the weaponry that the Giants end up getting. The issue with Michael Penix, and this is the issue, is that unless he goes to the combine and he really absolutely kills it, he is a mid to late first round pick. You can potentially get him in the second round. So drafting him at number 6 will be doing the same thing that you did with Daniel Jones, putting extremely high expectations on him, where he was supposed to be drafted lower, but you drafted him so high because that's what you needed. And that's already starting him behind the 8 ball. And you don't want to do that because they ruined Daniel Jones. They ruined him. Every which way possible, they ruined him. And you don't want to repeat history. So for that number 6 pick, I believe, and I was thinking about this and saying it before Mel Kiper has dropped his mock draft and things of that nature, I believe that the Giants are going to go wide receiver, because that is the most important position right now for the Giants. People may say offensive line. I don't think so, because no one offensive lineman in this draft is going to get on that offensive line and change life for everybody. That's not going to happen. There's not a defensive player that is coming out, and if you put him in the starting position, that he's going to change life on that defense. There's not a quarterback in this draft that if you put him behind center, he's going to pull what C.J. Stroud pulled. There's not a quarterback that's going to do that. But it is a player at the wide receiver position who can make a huge impact year one straight from the jump, and I believe that's what they're going to go with. Now, for me, my favorite, Malik Neighbors. He does it all. Everybody's talking about Marvin Harrison Jr., of how generational he is and things of that nature. Malik Neighbors had more yards, more receptions, and more yards per catch, and was way more explosive, and he did it on a consistent basis, and did it last year as well, and just upgraded with, yes, Jaden Daniels was the Heisman Trophy winner, but Jaden Daniels is more of a running quarterback. That's not a passing offense. He's more of a Lamar Jackson. So imagine getting better stats than the guy that's more generational with a running quarterback. Now imagine that with a passing-centric guy. Malik Neighbors is going to come into this league and he's going to do damage. And I believe that that's who the number 6 pick should be. Now we have 2 second rounders. I believe if you can try to package 2 second rounders, get back up into the first round and get Michael Penix, that will be a perfect day one in my eyes. That would be a perfect day one. You got your quarterback, you got him in the later rounds, so there's really no pressure on him to start, and you already have a $46 million quarterback that's already on the books. So guess what? He's gonna play anyway. We don't think Daniel Jones is going to last all season anyway. So we're going to see Michael Penix. And then you get that number 6 pick. You get that number 1 wide receiver that we've been looking for that can open it up for everybody else. I believe that can be the best off-season plan to go with. It will get you impact for the next season. And then moving into the future, Michael Penix gets to sit behind Daniel Jones, see exactly what was going on, how New York is, how the Giant fans is, how the media is, and stepping to the role very smoothly. And that's how I believe that the Giants offseason should go. Now, if you've been with me throughout this whole video, thumbs up to you. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and until next time, I'm out.